I want to start with you as in regards to just the environment. So being at Citi Field, baseball, New York City, all of the above, coming back alive. What's it been like to be there? Just to be in the park.
It's been tremendous. I think especially Jacob deGrom starts are pretty electric, and it just feels like every time he takes the mound, it feels like a playoff atmosphere almost. Really, people really come in large numbers, and it's nice to have Citi Field at full capacity too. Of course, that helps. It's been awesome. It's been great to have a bunch of fans back. I know I missed them so much. Reporting and covering the team is an awesome experience, but it's even better when you have 30, 40,000 fans there really cheering on the Mets, which is huge. And I think there's a ton of excitement around this team this year. There's a lot of excitement in New York around the Mets. They're obviously, in first place, playing really good baseball. Not only when Jacob deGrom takes the mound, but really every night, the Mets fans are really bringing it, which I think is awesome. And I'm really looking forward to, as we record this, of course, this afternoon, Saturday, Jacob deGrom will be on the mound, and I'm expecting a loud and an exciting crowd to be there. So it's been awesome. I don't know about Dylan. He was there Friday night, but the crowds have been, I think not as big as expected. They've been a little thin at times, but the people that are there are certainly bringing it. So maybe that's a little bit of people not being totally comfortable really going to a full stadium yet. But the people that are there are really bringing the noise, and I think they're reflecting the Mets fan base in general and just how exciting this team is.
Dylan, I wanted to go right to you as our resident connoisseur of vibes.
Vibes.
Okay, I appreciate that. First off,
that's your new title. Put that on a business card.
Look at the shirt. He's got the vibe right now.
This is what I'm saying.
I'm currently at home with my family. I put on this shirt, and I was coming downstairs to do this. My mom said, "You're going on in that."
Man, right, you can't win. You can't win, Dylan. I wanted to ask you about the beginning of the season compared to now, what was previously perhaps a scary time for Mets fans after signing Lindor to the extension, being disappointed not only with his direct results, but just the on-field product in general. Things have to be different now with the on-field product looking a little more gelled, improved. I want to know what your take on that is as someone who's spent a lot of time actually watching the team.
Well, absolutely. It's a good question. And I think there's two aspects to it. First off, you look at Lindor and you look at the contract he signed as an extension with the Mets coming into the season. 10 years and upwards of $300 million. That's a long time. And more importantly, that's a lot of money. And I can imagine that takes a big emotional toll on a person when suddenly there's just so much more money in their life. I would like to say more than most people I knew, I was giving Lindor the benefit of the doubt coming into the season because I knew it might take him a little while to adjust to that. That's a huge adjustment. And forgive, there's a printer going on right next to me, and I apologize. It's a Wi-Fi printer. Someone's doing
always a mess, Dylan. Always
right?
a mess.
Always about the Mets. But here's the other thing about Lindor, and here's the important part. Is what we have learned over the last couple of weeks, and I'm sure Sam has noticed this too, is you get to see just how much of a leader he is on this team, even when he's not hitting, when he's not producing offensively, and maybe when he makes an error defensively. He is the most vocal guy out there on the field, and you can ask anyone on this Mets team, he is like having a second manager right there on the field. That's a very good sign of what the next 10 years are going to mean for this Mets squad, even when Lindor is not the top hitter on the team. If he's hitting 212 like he was coming into a couple days ago. It's going to continue to improve, especially this season, but it's okay for now.
Yeah, and they also, I think that Mets being in first place, it has to be an incredibly exciting experience right now. They were nowhere, they were nothing, and then they suddenly are something, and they're actually holding on to first place. So, obviously, as a Phillies fan, I do hate it emotionally, but on this show, I support it as a sports reporter for New York. You have to give them credit where credit is due. And so, the original plan was like 3 to 5 years. So they're already kind of ahead of that. If you really think about it, they're already kind of moving forward in a manner that is better than expected, I would say.
Yeah. I am reveling in your misery, Kayla. I have to admit.
Yesterday though, Aaron Nola, can we appreciate the history that he made? I mean, it was wasted, but let's just appreciate it here.
Well, that's the thing is that is the biggest problem with this Mets team right now. In the more recent future is this offense, because all credit to Aaron Nola and everything he was able to do. Tying that record, especially record with Tom Seaver, at Citi Field in Flushing, Queens. Really, really cool stuff, and you got to give him a ton of credit. And Dylan was there, and I'm sure that was a cool experience to be able to see that. But it shows a kind of a big issue over the last week or so with this Mets team, which is their offense definitely struggling, despite the fact that McNeil is back, Conforto's now back. Like we mentioned, Lindor is starting to play better. It's a little puzzling, a little confusing. I don't worry too much about it just because during this time, the pitching staff has stepped up even more, it feels like, than they did in the past. David Peterson is a big guy I point to because when Lucchesi got hurt, Peterson has had, I think, 3 good starts in a row. He's really picked things up, helping the team win. And just like, even I know he, the game he pitched, the Mets lost, but he really gave everything he had. He's been pitching very well lately. So the pitching staff has seemed to like pick things up and take things to another level, which I didn't even think was really possible because of how well they've pitched, like the starting pitching and even the bullpen too. But the fact that they're just kind of picking up where the offense is kind of struggling, and the Mets are finding a way to still play like 500 baseball during that time, during this like week or so, especially against divisional opponents, it's huge. And I think it shows good teams do that. When one part of the team is struggling, let's say if the offense is really struggling, but the pitching staff picks them up, or even the other way around, if the pitching staff is struggling, the offense will pick them up. Good teams go through stretches like this. It happens. It's not something to sound all the alarms about, which a lot of New York fans do in general. But I think I know, Dylan, you're dying to jump in, but I think that's just like that's a big key. That's what good teams do. They pick things up when other things are down. And when this Mets offense is struggling, the pitching is carrying and they're still winning games. I think that's important.
I think what's important to note about this team is that, as everyone comes back, the expectations are going to get higher. As this team felt injuries of McNeil and Nimmo and Conforto, and we saw what we were calling the replacements. The fact that they were finding new ways to win games it created this mentality of, I would say, Mets are playing well, considering. If I made some kind of souffle, you'd go, this is pretty good, considering. Kayla does a great job hosting this show, considering.
Oh.
What does that mean? Uh-oh.
Kayla knows what it means. But anyways, the point of what I'm saying is expectations are rising now that some of the expected starters are back. And that's just going to be something the Mets are going to have to find their way back into the season. It's a groove they're going to have to find because they're almost half of a new team now than they have been for the last month.
I have to ask, not just about returning talent, but potentially adding talent. Sam spoke about the bat. There has been a lot of talk about improving the rotation, potentially via trade. As guys who have spent, again, a lot of time around the clubhouse, I have to start before even getting into names of potential candidates. Like, is this a team you're looking to make some trades to improve? Do you think that what they have going in the clubhouse is valuable enough to let this group rock? Is there a certain position group you're running to go make a trade for? Either of you can jump in here with your general manager cap on and chime in, because I'm genuinely curious with the atmosphere of the team. I remember during the Knicks season, there were some reports internally that the team was concerned about breaking up what they had going chemistry wise.
Yeah. Dylan and I have really this question. I think it was asked maybe a couple of weeks ago or maybe even a week ago. It kind of caught us by surprise at first because it's not really a thing a lot of Mets fans and I'm sure the organization has thought about it, but I guess Mets fans and people on the outside haven't really considered it too much. You can always get better at the deadline, so it's definitely something the Mets should look into. And because Lucchesi's hurt, I think a back end of the rotation piece would certainly help. But it's not like I don't see it as a requirement, just because if David Peterson continues to pitch well, that's fine. And then you're going to get Carrasco back, who's really your fourth starter. Come playoff time, you really only need 4 starters. Or even down the stretch, to be honest. So it's not like a dire need, but sure, I mean, it would help. And then I guess if Carrasco does come back and he's healthy and pitches well, then you kind of have an abundance of riches, and you almost have too many starting pitchers, which I guess is a pretty good problem to have.
Wonderful problem to have.
Yeah, you can shift somebody to the bullpen. So, but I think the bigger concern is the Mets offense, which has been decent at times, and then, like I said, right now is not very good. But where do you look for help? I'm not really sure who's available at the moment. I think a lot of people, at least in the off season and then coming up to the deadline, anticipated the Cubs to be not very good. And then Chris Bryant was the guy that was maybe on the block. The guy who's played outfield and can also play third base. Although I know Jonathan VR has had a good year, but that's a guy a lot of people think of for his bat. But the Cubs are playing well, so I don't think he's available. And then I don't know. You go down the list. I guess it's going to be kind of a wait and see situation. You got a little while till the deadline still. So you got some time to figure it out. But I'm sure, and I'm pretty positive that the Mets are going to make some sort of move. And I think it might come on the offensive side of things.
I'd have to agree with you there, Sam. As he mentioned, this is something we keep getting asked about. But it's interesting, and I'll say what I've said before is that it's hard. It's hard to know really, because even still at this point, even with McNeil and Conforto back, it's hard to tell what kind of team this squad is going to be come late July. What they're really going to need coming down the stretch, we don't really know yet. Obviously, another starter is what everyone has their heart set on at this point. I'm not entirely sure if that's what they need yet. Obviously you can't have bullpen games in the playoffs, or at least I don't think so. Maybe you can, but I don't know. Never been done before, but maybe it's possible. My point is,
anything with this team, Dylan.
And honestly, truly, but the point is, most people saying a starter. I don't know if that's the right move yet. My first thought actually was third base. As much as I like Jonathan VR and Luis Guillorme and everyone who's been playing there, I think this team just needs that little extra boost there. Obviously everyone was talking about Chris Bryant. People have been talking about Chris Bryant coming to the Mets for, I feel like, a year and a half now. And I don't think it's going to happen at this point. And I don't really know who else would be on the market in terms of good third baseman. So, yeah, it's just going to be another waiting game.
Can't believe they paid the big bucks for that decision, Dylan.
That name, Chris Bryant, was going to be the one that I brought up. But as you guys were saying, he kind of he seems to have ruined the Cubs plans there a little bit. He's
not going to get dealt. I mean, he's like a perfect fit though, because he can play outfield too, which I think is nice to have a little bit. He plays left field for the Cubs also, which is big. I mean, he's not a great left fielder, but just to have that bat in the lineup would be huge. But yeah, the Cubs are right in it. I mean, I think they're in tied for first place. So they're not. He's not going anywhere, unfortunately.
Yeah, what's interesting, Sam, is I've noticed about left field, it has become the DH of the National League. When you want one of your infielders to play,
like Dom Smith out there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not that Dom Smith's a bad left fielder, but
he's gotten better. He's gotten a lot better.
He's gotten a lot better, but he's in the lineup for his bat. It does seem left field turns into.
We love Dom Smith.
Oh, we love Dom Smith. We love Dom Smith.
We do.
What a win that he contributed to the first game of the two. We love Dom Smith.
Some of us don't love Dom Smith today, okay?
We love Dom Smith.
I want to mention something here. Kayla, you would have loved this. So obviously the Mets are playing the Phillies yesterday. They split the doubleheader. Yeah. It was the biggest capacity I've been at so far this season. It was upwards of 29,000 fans yesterday. And Bryce Harper had, I believe, 6 at-bats. And, man, the booing is back, man. That's what's the best part about that. He got booed. He went 0 for 5 before his home run in, I think it was the 6th yesterday.
Yeah.
The stadium fell silent. He comes out.
Shut him up. He was like, get out.
Oh, God, the curtain call this guy took. Bryce Harper, you say what you want about him. He is the best villain baseball's had in a really
I agree.
Time. So good for him on that end.
Love to hate him. Even though he's on my team, when he wasn't on my team, I had to hate him, I had a lot of mixed feelings about it.
Yeah.
He is such a villain character in baseball.
New York, speaking of, we might have just created one in a different sport in the 6-foot dust for hair. No.
Okay, but let's stay on topic with the Mets here. What's your next question for me, Chris?
Listen, Dylan, I wanted to
All
wrap
about
up.
Dylan today.
Yeah, I know. I'm
Dylan,
here too. What am I not?
Dylan and Sam, I wanted to wrap up by just we talked trade. I got to know about Pete Alonso, my guy Polar Bear Pete. Just how's he been in the clubhouse? How's he doing?
Well, that whole Donnie
Personal
Stevenson
check-in.
thing, I have to say, it's a little tired. I mean, it's not working. You know, he came out with his personal hitting coach or the Mets team hitting coach, whatever it may be, and they're not really hitting right now. So I love Pete Alonso. He's great for the clubhouse, but that whole Donnie Stevenson bit, I don't know about you, Dylan. You might still like it, but for me, it's a little tired at this point.
I agree. I feel like the focus is in the wrong place for Pete at the moment, considering he's only hit 1 home run at home so far this season. So that's something that needs to change.
Yeah.
But, you know, I feel like when Donnie Stevenson as an idea first came around and the Mets had the best offensive weekend they've had all season.
I loved that weekend.
I guess at this point it was just a coincidence, because since then the Mets offense has really been lacking, with the exception of some games against, you know, the Orioles and a good game or two against the Cubs. It's really all it's been. So, you know, for the Mets and specifically for Pete, it needs to become a little more of a focus on the offense. And I will say Pete has improved defensively at first base this year, just like he did last year. It's an upward climb for him. But he's not hitting at home, and you're just not going to continue to have success if you're not hitting at home.
Got to start to happen. We'll see how the Mets do this season. We'll see what they do at the deadline, if anything, and we'll know that we have Dylan and Sam on location to give us live reports. Dylan, again, to sign you off as our vibes connoisseur. We appreciate the vibe update. Sam, the analysis, impeccable. Just thank you to Dylan and Sam for stopping by. WFUV. She said you're only here for the vibes.
Sam comes here for the real talk, but Dylan just comes in to make vibes. That's all he does. He's just
well then what are you here for, Kayla? I still don't know.
Okay. Everybody settle down here. Settle down.
Some infighting here on air, but not before.